today we're going to be looking at a 2020 Subaru. In this instance, we're actually looking at a 2020 Crosstrek. Also have a 2020 Forester over here, but it's the same on all the new 2020 Subaru models. But today we're going to be looking at some of the infotainment controls on this new, on these new Subarus. I know with everyone having to stay home now, you see we got our mask and our disinfecting wipes. People in my family have both bought new 2020 Subarus, but can't take them to the dealer to get the infotainment systems fully walked through. So I've kind of been toying around with it for a little bit. But today we're going to do a little bit of a walkthrough of it. Now, the one thing that is pretty annoying with these 2020 Subaru models is that when you start the car, the radio will always be on, even if you turn it off. So if you turn it off, get out of the car, turn off the car or whatever, and then come back in, turn the car back on, then the radio will actually be back on, which is pretty annoying. Now, the only real way that I have found, looking online and everything to get around this is to just, before you get out of the car, just turn your radio all the way down. That way when you come back in, the volume will still be all the way down. Not the best way. I really hope that, Subaru will change this a bit in the future, but kind of digging into things a little bit, you can see here, now this model does not have navigation built in. Our Forester that we have over there, the 2020 Forester, does. But they're all pretty similar, except for with the navigation model, it has the navigation option here. Now, of course, Subarus do now thankfully come with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So all you gotta do is you plug in, down here you have your USB ports, plug in your phone cable there, plug in your phone, and you've got CarPlay will pop up right here in this section. Now, we do also have My Subaru and Subaru Starlink. This Subaru is equipped with remote start. That's a paid option that you are able to start your car with your phone. Now, two of my family members, like I said, both just bought two new 2020 Subarus. This one has the remote start option. The Forester over there does not. The person that owns this car says that they don't really use it. It doesn't always work 100% of the time, so they kind of wish that they hadn't spent the extra money on it. But kind of digging into things here, first thing we'll go to settings. So we can go into driver profile. This is one of the big things. So you can have different driver profiles. If you want different backgrounds, you can have different Bluetooth pairings with different driver profiles. So if it's a shared vehicle, husband and a wife share a vehicle or whatever, and you both want to have your own settings, then that is definitely a possibility with these new models. So you can see here, if you switch between driver profiles, it just loads for a second and then you close out of it. You can see now that there's a different background than there was the rock background before. Now there's the kind of the classic Subaru Galaxy blue, but you can also add but when you click on one other than default, it'll ask you all these. You can just hit activate. It'll ask you to wait a minute. It's not the most seamless transition, but it is an option there. Hello everyone, don't mean to interrupt my own video, but I am going to interject here because I just finished filming up the video that you're currently watching and realized that the most common question I am frequently asked is, how do I change the background on my new infotainment system? So I'm going to interject here, get caught up to where you all are at here on the driver profiles, showing you how to switch in between them and everything now. You can go to your profile if you want to edit it and change your background if you already have a profile set up. I'll assume that you all don't have a profile set up already, so we'll edit, enter a name, say Subi. Then we hit next. We can select a phone. Or just hit next. Don't want to connect a phone for this profile because I'm going to be deleting it in 5 seconds anyway. Now here's where you have select the wallpaper for your Subaru. So you have up here, you have your classic Subaru Blue Galaxy, like I was mentioning in that video, or like you're about to see in that video, depending on where I interject this part. You got your mountains, your beach, the northern lights, the rocks, which is what I have it currently set as, just a gray background. And if you hit the down button here, scroll down, then you also have like a sunset, as well as some just more plain colors. So we'll say, kind of like the sunset here, hit next, driver profile saved, and then you hit finish. Now that is how you set up a driver profile, and close out of it. And now you can see here I have my new background is set using that driver profile. And now if I were to go back and switch to another driver profile, hit activate, and then hit home, then you would see here that my background has changed depending on the driver profile. So that is how you change the background. Wanted to throw that in there because I know that that's the most common question that people have asked me, is how do I change the background? So didn't want to make sure I didn't forget that part. Enjoy the rest of the video. It's not the most seamless transition, but it is an option there. You know, you got your brightness options, all this sort of stuff. Now for Wi-Fi, you have different options here to connect to different Wi-Fi networks. Now the reason you would need to connect your car to Wi-Fi is to do software updates. So if you go down even further, you can see check for updates. Now this system has just been updated, so it won't let me click on it. But if there is an update available, you will be able to click that button there, and it will let you update the software. Now, like I said, you do need to be connected to Wi-Fi, so you need to be parked in a driveway. If your garage doesn't get great Wi-Fi signal, then you know you might need to be out in your driveway or something instead. But here you kind of have a lot of different options. If you want your USB device to automatically play when you plug it in, that's also an option. A lot of your basic car settings, nothing too crazy. I will be doing a video separate for this screen up here. You can add in birthdays, anniversaries, all that kind of stuff. And your car will remind you on birthdays and anniversaries, which is kind of cool. I'll be doing a whole separate video on this smaller screen up here and how to use that. I'll be sure to link that down below if you're interested in viewing that. But as for this big screen, you have your classic sound options here. You know, your position and everything, where you can move it around. Very responsive, much nicer than my personal vehicle is a 2015 Subaru, and this is much more responsive than my 2015. So it's nice that they've kind of upped their game in this. You can see you can change your phone volume, ringtone volume, all that kind of stuff. These are your basic. If you don't like how it beeps like that, you can turn that off, all that sort of stuff. Phone, you can see we got, you know, phones connected, undercover FBI agent, all that sort of thing. Now for the vehicle stuff, time and date, you can have it auto. It will sync with the satellite or with your smartphone. If for some reason you find that that's not reliable enough, then you can set it yourself. You can change the duration of your interior light, keyless entry system, auto door lock and all that stuff, to go, you know, if you don't want the doors to auto lock when you start going a certain speed, you can turn that off, all that sort of stuff. Your welcome lighting, all of that stuff is stuff that you can change. The sensitivity of the light sensors, that sort of stuff, all options that you can change in here. If we go back home, you can see here you'd have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto would be an option, if you had a phone plugged in. Media is where you'll have, if you have a Bluetooth device connected, play it here. Phone, same thing. If you had it connected, then it'd be there. Obviously you have your radio, pretty standard. The Subaru Starlink app, this is something I even have on my 2015 Subaru. It's about the height of the technology that comes on that 2015. I've never really understood this app. It's never really been helpful to me. You can see it always takes a while to load. It's just not, I mean, I'm sure that there's stuff that you can do with it that's helpful, but I've never seen a purpose for it. You can also add more shortcuts if you want. But yeah, that about wraps it up for the general overview of this. Like I said, this one does not have navigation. If you all want to see what one with navigation looks like, then feel free to drop a comment down below. I've got one with navigation, like I said, right over there, so that would not be a hassle at all. Hope this video was helpful. If there's something else that you are trying to figure out, feel free to drop a comment down below and I can try to answer it. Like I said, I'll be doing a separate video on this screen and kind of some of the stuff that you can do on this screen here. Kind of the ins and outs of it, and the different options. But that is all for this video. Like I said, if you have any questions or comments or feedback, this is my first time making a video on a Subaru since like years ago. So if you have any feedback for me, YouTube's changed quite a bit since then, so feel free to drop a comment down below and let me know, and I'll catch you guys next time.